Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. It is Sunday, October 23rd, and this is the Pill Method Club, and we're joining forces this morning with the Mortgage Syndicate this morning. And October 23rd, oh my goodness, it is almost at the end of the month. So, folks, we may have some examples to put on screen. So, if you are here in Clubhouse and you want to see what's going on screen, and you want to see our examples, you can go to my 10K card right above my head. Click that link, and then you'll see "Watch Us Live," and you'll be able to see us live on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and you'll be able to see our examples on screen if we have some examples to put on screen. Okay. So first of all, we are going to start with talking to our moderators that are here this morning, and we're going to start with Credit Goddess. Credit Goddess, how are you this morning? Tell the folks who you are and what you do, please.
Absolutely. Hey, everyone. Happy Sunday. I hope you guys start off your week in a prosperous manner, of course, especially obtaining this information, what we're going to talk about today. My name is Rose Lore Lewis. I'm also known as Credit Goddess. I'm all things credit. I'm a credit score improvement strategist. I'm a NAV business loan broker. I'm a business credit coach. And I'm also an educator in the credit space. So when I say I'm all things credit, I put my clients in position to qualify, always approved, never denied for funding, whether it's for business, to purchase their first home, real estate investing, whatever it is. Your credit needs to be optimized and in position to qualify. So this is what I do. If you guys are interested in my service, the number is in my bio. Send your name and email address there, and let's get started. Thanks, Don.
You are so welcome. All the way from Canada, we have Donna in the house. Oh, by the way, folks, if you are in here right now, why don't you just go into the chat and just tell us where you're from? Say good morning from wherever it is. And listen, I'd love to shout you out this morning. So, Miss Donna, all the way from Canada, talk to us.
Yes, good morning, all the way from nice warm Canada. How are you everyone? How is everyone doing? I'm Donna here, located in Canada. I'm a commercial loan broker. You can check my bio. I am able to do your lending for all your lending needs. You can check my bio. You'll see all the products and services that I can offer you. I'm always here to support, to add value in this room where I can, always a student. And that's it for me. This is Donna, and I'm done speaking.
All right, Donna, thank you very much. I'm putting in the chat that I'm here from Huntsville, Alabama. And let's see, Credit Goddess from Florida. All right. And we know where you're from. Dawn, you're right here in Huntsville as well. Folks, tell us where you're from this morning. Just put it in the chat and tell us where you're from. That would be great. I love to shout you out and to meet you. That would be great. That would be great. So tell us where you're from and listen. If you want to come up on stage, listen, this is an open forum. You've got questions. We've got some interesting stuff that we're going to be talking about, how to become a W-2 employee and be a W-2 employee and become a millionaire. Oh, that's got to be some hot stuff. So come to the stage, ask your questions, because without your questions, it could get kind of dry if you just hear, my opinion or the opinions on the stage. We need your input. It's open to you. Come on up, raise your hand, and come on up and talk to us this morning. So next on is Dawn Robinson. Dawn, tell us who you are and what you do, and kind of lead us into this whole idea of becoming a W-2 millionaire.
Sure. Hey, everybody. Good morning. My name is Dawn Robinson, the Money PhD. I am a teenage single mom turned millionaire by age 44. And that was not without many money mistakes. So today, I guess we're going to talk about some of my money mistakes that I made. And then the goal here is to start late and finish rich. I made a lot of money mistakes, mainly in credit card overspending. And decided to turn it around. I got a bad boss, couldn't afford to quit That's today. I'm going to leave everything else alone, and we're just going to chit chat for today. All right, so back to you.
Thank you. My name is Don Daniel, founder of P.I.L.L Method International, a better way to eliminate debt. P.I.L.L stands for prepayment of principal, isolating the principal amount, leverage, and liquidity. And for the past 16 years, we've been helping clients pay off all of their debt. That's their mortgages, their student loans, credit cards, car loans, all of that in about 7 to 9 years using a process called interest cancellation. Understanding interest cancellation means you do not have to pay all that interest to the bank. The interest that the bank is looking for, you don't have to pay it. We're going to show you how to read an amortization schedule, how to disrupt the bank's timing so it makes it impossible for them to charge you all of that interest. And we use a computer system, artificial intelligence, to match up against the bank's computer so that our computer will tell you how much money to move, what month to move it in, what day of the month to move it on, and which loan to attack to maximize your interest savings using your current budget. You don't need to make more money. What you need is to pay less interest. And what we're going to show you is to focus on interest cost instead of interest rate. All right, folks, remember that. We're going to focus on interest cost instead of interest rate. And pretty soon, a lot of the experts are predicting, everyone here on stage, that we're going to be going to double digit interest rates here soon. We just closed at 7.23 on Friday with interest rates. Now, we're going to do a show fairly soon on what if interest rates go to 10%. I'm going to show you how you can do well even with a 10% interest rate. Don't let the interest rates fool you, folks, because the interest that the bank is looking for, you don't have to pay. In fact, if interest rates go to 10% and you can still afford to buy a house, you can actually do better at the higher interest rates than you can do at the lower. And I can't wait to show you. But that's not our focus here today, folks. Our focus here is talking about how to become a W-2 millionaire. And listen, Dawn, we want to build this thing from the ground up. So take as much time as you need and let the folks know what's going on. And folks, anytime you want to ask a question, come on up to the stage. We're going to be watching the audience like a hawk to see if hands raise. Dawn, it's on you.
Hey, Dawn. Hey, everyone. So I think for me, I thought this was an important topic. I'm glad you actually picked it. Because most people think you have to do all this fancy stuff. I'm in the clubhouse streets often, and I always hear you got to have 921 doors. You got to do hard money. You have to do crypto. You have to do all this funny stuff that a lot of us don't understand, and it just seems a lot risky to me. That's just my own personal opinion. And I am a financial fundamentalist. I too started out using OPM. You hear that? People say it's use other people's money. At this point in my life, I say use OPM, other people's mistakes. And so what I hope today is that everyone in the audience can find themselves somewhere in what we talk about in our story, because I think we take way too many risks when they're not necessary. So I'll start out. I just tell my little money backstory first. And so I grew up. I'm from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, but I grew up in an environment where domestic violence was very common, and it looked like to me the women tolerated it because they felt like they couldn't afford to leave. And for me, it was education and money. So that was my goal, is to have enough money and to be able to have an education that I could keep myself and the twins safe. So I had twins as a teenager. And that was my start. And so I did the same thing. I was on active duty for a while, for 7 years, and then a federal employee. I've been a federal employee for 27 years now. And so that was my start. But at 26, I acquired my first house, but I was only making $26,000 a year. I think it's $28,000 a year. And that was in 2002. So I acquired my first house at 20, I think I was 26. And then I had 3 by 31. And so I
Okay,
started
wait. Let me ask you a question, Dawn. So you had your first house by 26, and you had 3 houses by 31.
Yes.
What inspired you to get into those other houses, and were they rentals?
They were rentals.
Okay.
And so I read Robert Kiyosaki, and I understood real estate. I understood buying a house and renting it out. I did not understand stocks as much. I had learned and got interested in it because the people in the Navy, the officers, would watch the CNN screen and watch that ticker. And so that's kind of how I started in the stock market, but I didn't really understand it all that well to be able to execute it and feel confident on my own.
Okay. So let's come on. Let's keep moving. So you had the 3 houses.
Yes.
All right. Well, now keep going. All right. Tell us what you did next.
So I had 3 by 31, and then I started to progress in my career because I felt like, okay, I still need to make more money. So by 2004, 2005 is when I started to progress in my career, and I picked up those other 2. And then after that, I waited for a little bit, picked up number 4 around around 2012. And so I just kind of picked them up a little bit at a time. My plan was to buy 1 a year, but 2008 happened, and then I stopped for a while.
Okay.
So I did not buy the 1, 2, 3, 4 until December. I think it was December of 12. I keep saying December, so I think it must be December of 12. And then after that, I started to understand in between the houses, I started to put more money in my 401k.
Okay. Okay, let's stop right there for a second. So we just had Luis Estrella come to the stage, and Michael, I believe you have a question. But Luis, will you go ahead and introduce yourself as one of our moderators today and tell us what you do, please?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Perfectly.
All right, perfect. So I'll get in and out. My name is Luis Estrella. I'm a vertically integrated licensed realtor here in New York, New Jersey, and Dominican Republic. I provide commercial and business purpose loans, as well as real estate loans as well. So definitely feel free to tap in. And every single Wednesday here on Clubhouse, we teach a class on how to buy houses for $7,500 and getting access to more than $85,000 in down payment and closing cost assistance. And our club is called Everyone Deserves a Home. So that's a little bit about me, bro. Go back on mute.
Well, listen, thank you very much. It sounds like you're on the road, but Luis, anytime you need to jump in on this subject, please do. Michael, welcome to the stage. Do you have a question or comment this morning for Miss Dawn? Hello, Michael, you're on the stage. So you click that little microphone in the lower right-hand corner and unmute and ask your question. And sometimes the app gets a little glitchy. And if you're trying to unmute and it's not working, go out of the room, come back in, we'll bring you back up, and then you'll be able to ask your question. Okay? So Dawn, while Michael is trying to work out his technical issues, go ahead and pick up from where you left off. So you've started putting more money into your 401k. Why?
I just knew that was the thing to do. So when I was in the Navy, I told you I understood. That's why I was introduced. The officers used to come in. The officers used to come in our office, and they would watch this screen every day. I kept saying, why do they watch this screen every day? It'd be like two groups that would come in. They would come in at different times. And so I would just watch them. And I'm like, something's on this screen. And that was the ticker. I didn't know what it was. I just saw a red line and a green line. They would watch it. And honestly, I just started writing down what they would say, the first group would say, and I would just parrot back what the first group said to the second group. And then eventually they thought I knew what I was talking about. And that's how I got in the kind of investment fold.
Okay, so what was
Morningstar, 52-week high, 52-week low. But that's how I kind of got introduced to stocks, but I wasn't confident enough to do it on my own.
So what were they watching?
They were watching CNN.
Oh.
Yep. CNN, NBC.
CNBC?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So they were watching it every day, and I kept saying why. And then they were talking about Disney was splitting at the time, so I remember buying that with them. There was a couple other, and then I learned how to do penny stocks. And I would just watch the ticker, and anything that was under $2, I would write down that ticker symbol, and I would go back on the computer and look it up and look for a 52-week high and a 52-week low, and I would buy it.
Okay. All right. So you got in. So now we got a good job. You bought a house for yourself, read Robert Kiyosaki, got some other properties, and found out that if you're going to get into real estate, make money. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so that's where you were.
Say that again.
And I said, that's where you were.
Yeah. So then 2008 happened again. My plan was to buy them one every year, but 2008 happened, and that's when I stopped. So I just started maxing out my 401k. I wasn't really maxing it. The max that you can do at that time, I think, was 12%. So that's what I did.
All right. So we've got a new moderator on stage. Karen just came up. Karen, how are you doing this morning?
Hey, Don, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fine. We'll go ahead and tell the folks who you are and what you do, and we'll let Dawn get back to her story. And it looks like Michael has solved his problem. So, Michael, we're going to come back to you for a question, okay? So, Karen, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Don. I mean, Dawn and Dawn. You go by Dawn, right? Yeah, you are. All right, awesome. Dawn, that's a great story. And that's kind of how I started too. And when I studied the stocks from 2017, and then 2020 happened, and I finally got enough courage to do that same thing. But hi, everybody. Good morning. My name is Kareen Mills with a heart on my photo. Yes, it is my mom's heart, and I pay tribute to her when I open my mouth here and anywhere on social media. I'm a money-making mentor for moms and women, and note the word making. I'm not just a money mentor, I'm a money-making mentor. I help you make money online so you can recession-proof yourself. Thanks for having me, Dawn, and I love this conversation. Always enjoy having this room and listening to you. And I see some credit goddess. Thanks for the heart. I know Rose, so I'm in good company.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so Dawn, that's where that's a good place to kind of pick things up. So you came in. 2008 happened, and you put things on hold, and you started maxing out your 401k. So what happened next?
Yeah, so then after that, for a while, I just focused on my career. I just did slow and steady. I used to follow Susie Orman, Dave Bach. I think Susie Orman was the popular one back then, and she was always like, "Can you afford it?" Let me say this: I did some things right. Like I bought the property, I contributed to my 401k, but I never stopped spending on my credit card. In my mind, Robert Kiyosaki said, use other people's money. I grew up with credit cards and understanding people use credit cards. And I thought as long as you could pay your minimum payment or a little bit more and you had savings in the bank, that you didn't have to pay them off. So I never thought, or when I did pay them off, I would always run them back up. And so it was never a big deal to me. I never even considered that I should not have debt, or that there was a better way to do it, or, there's good debt versus bad debt. I didn't think about any of that. So I don't want you all to think I was perfect. And for years, I took care of other family members. I'm sure y'all know what that's about. I call it being Robin Hood of the hood. So you're the one that makes a little bit more money. You're the one that has the education, and people look up to you. Sometimes they ask, and sometimes, most of the time, I volunteer. So that was what I did. And through my career, I would get promoted. And I heard the officers when I was in the Navy would say, "Hey, every time you get promoted, you need to hide the income from yourself." So that's what I would do. I would just keep adding it to my 401k or adding it to my savings. That's where I started. And I didn't really think what I was doing was anything spectacular. So that's why I'm saying you don't have to do anything fancy. I did nothing fancy. And so I think I was on house 3 or 4. 3. 1, 2, 3. I sold one, so I only had the 3 at the time.
Okay.
And then I got the bad boss, right? And so once I got a bad boss is when I really decided to change the way I looked at my money.
Okay, so now you got a bad boss. How does that equate to having a money problem? I don't get it, and you got to help me out there.
Yeah, I help you. So I was a senior level executive at the time, right? And so for me, I felt either they were talking to me in a condescending way. I felt I was under the microscope a lot. It was being yelled at. It was, being called on the carpet for really just to make me look bad. And it was really hard. It was unrealistic deadlines. And it just was a lot. It was a very toxic environment. It was a lot of microaggressions. And for the first time in my career, I hated going to work. I literally hated going to work, and I hated to go into meetings. I just didn't want to do it anymore. And it was either I was going to quit or I felt like they were going to try to find a way to fire me.
Okay, so here's what you're talking about. So we're in that job, got a bad boss, and and I mean people yelling at you. I mean that's enough right there, And so why didn't you just quit? I mean, it's a toxic situation. Quit.
I couldn't afford to quit. Actually, I came home and I was like, I got to figure this thing out because I can't afford to quit. And when I finally, that's what made me look at all my numbers. So before it was, save 6 to 8 months. They said 3 to 6 months. I saved 8. They say buy real estate. I had 3 houses at that time. They said max your 401k. I was maxing my 401k, and I still couldn't afford to quit. The twins had just graduated, but I made sure that they had cars. I had 2 cars. So I was living this lifestyle. My grandmother was on my payroll, and she stayed on my payroll until she passed away in 21. And so I just had what I didn't think was a big lifestyle, but I had liabilities that were costing me money, and I could not afford to have an income change where I went down to 0. So when I looked at all of my liabilities, I was $140,000 in debt. And so let me tell you, part of that, I've never said it before, but part of that is some legal fees that I did to fight this toxic work environment. So let me just share that since that's over now. But yeah, it costs a lot of money to fight that too. And that was the main thing. I couldn't afford to quit. And so I literally made a plan like, okay, if I lost my job or what happens, what would I do? I knew I had a house. Instead of living in the big one, I would go to a small one that was like $500 a month. I would go to that one. I had to pay for a car. So I was just trying to have a plan. I need to have a plan for worst case scenario. So when you hear me talk, it's about how do I go to survival mode from being on top of the hill, right? So that's where it started. I was $140,000 in debt. I was like, if I want to stay, I need to be able to move in a different way. So I paid off the $140,000 in 17 months, and I moved to Hawaii because I figured if I still have to work, where do I want to go? Who do I want to do it with? And where do I want to be?
Okay, that's a good place to take a break. We got 2 new people on stage. We got Drew, we got Oteven. Oteven, how are you doing this morning?
I'm well, Don. How are you?
Doing fine. Listen, haven't seen you in a while. I know.
I keep hearing that.
Listen, so I'm going to have you introduce yourself. I'm going to have Drew introduce himself. And so go ahead and tell the folks who you are and what you're doing.
My name is Oteven. I go by OT. I'm a real estate agent in Rhode Island and Mass. I am also a very, very new investor. I recently started hosting an Airbnb. I got a lot of things going on. I guess my sabbatical from Clubhouse really has been so that I can be proactive about everything that I've learned because, there's so much information on Clubhouse. And really, it's really just about execution for me. So I've been on a sabbatical, just improving, making, like I said, working on my investment. I had a 3-unit that I bought with my mom. I renovated the 3rd floor. That's where my Airbnb is. And I'm actually working on my 1st floor today. I'm on my way to Home Depot. So.
All right. Well, thank you for jumping in here. Drew, what's up? Drew B, what's up, man?
What's going on, Ice?
Listen, man, I'm
This
glad you.
morning on Sunday.
Listen, man, I'm glad you came in here to join us today. So, introduce yourself and tell the folks who you are and what you do. And if you have if you have a little piece to put in there on becoming a W-2 millionaire, you can drop a couple of nuggets for us and let Dawn take a break, get a drink of water, and she'll come back and finish her story.
Cool. Yeah, so I'm gonna introduce myself real quick and then chime in a little bit. I'm in the sauna, so I may be out of breath, so bear with me. What's going on, everybody? I'm Drew B, short-term rental operator from the DMV. I went from 0 miles to 6 units in 90 days, and I hired my W-2 in 104. I help people get started in the short-term rental Airbnb space as well as scale your business. So if you're interested in that, connect with me. I'm also in the process of creating a course that I'm planning to release next month. So if you want to be put on that waiting list, text the number in my bio. And we're also giving a few courses away for free. So definitely tap into that. I'm also a commercial loan broker. I get businesses and real estate investors funded. I'm a strategist. I'm all about the numbers. And interest cancellation is huge. Looking at amortization schedule, all that is of interest to me. That's why I'm here to show support to my guy Ice. A little bit about my journey and how I leveraged my W-2 to go out and put me on this entrepreneur path was through the course of my journey, I held a lot of positions. I managed people. I rolled out plans and things like that. And what that experience allowed me to do was get familiar with how businesses operated internally, right? So when it was ready for me to make my jump, I can effectively run a business. I can train people. I know, what a P&L is, balance sheet, leveraging those experiences and carrying it forward was something that I was very, very intentional about, as well as just being comfortable, getting uncomfortable, right? Starting off, graduated college, all that good stuff. I was, an introvert, right? Didn't like to, spark up random conversations with people. But being, or even volunteering and, speaking on stages at conferences and moderating panels kind of opened me up. So now that I'm an entrepreneur, I can, feel comfortable having these conversations, interfacing with high level executives like COOs, CTOs, things like that. And, that's what I'm currently leveraging to put me on that millionaire trajectory. I haven't hit that million yet, right? Definitely building and scaling to get there. So I'm leveraging short-term rentals for that. Cash flow piece in order to leverage that cash flow to acquire more assets and ultimately turn those assets into short-term rentals as well. I have the business already built. We have systems, processes, VAs, teams, handling communication, all that good stuff. So, I'm focused on property acquisition, getting that unit design, photography, all that good stuff done, and inserting that into my business so I can continue to grow.
All right. Thank you. Thanks,
Yeah.
Drew. Appreciate that, man, for chiming in with us and jumping in here with us this morning on Sunday morning. Folks, you are in the Mortgage Syndicate this morning. If you are new to the Mortgage Syndicate, go ahead and click that green house at the top and join the Mortgage Syndicate. This is the P.I.L.L Method Club, and we're joining with the Mortgage Syndicate this morning to get this information out. All types of information on real estate, all types of information on growing your wealth, all types of things to know. What if you have a W-2? Can you become a millionaire with a W-2? And we have somebody on stage that's actually done that. Miss Dawn Robinson has come in and said, I'm going to share. I asked her to share her story with you, and she said yes. So listen, folks, we're going to jump right back into it. But first of all, I want to take a quick break here and just talk a little bit about what we do here at the P.I.L.L Method in helping people to understand how they can cancel up to 75% of the interest they were supposed to pay when they signed those loans, whether it's a mortgage or student loans or credit cards. You don't have to refinance that stuff. You can pay a lot less interest cost if you just know what to do. In fact, someone we met not too long ago has done just that, And I'm going to let you hear from him. His name is Dr. Eric Thomas, and some call him E.T., the hip hop preacher. I need you to hear what he had to say and about how he made things a lot easier, a lot smoother, and reduce the stress of owning a home and made his wife feel a lot better. Listen in.
Listen to me, y'all. But one of his mentees took us through one of their programs, and I paid off my mortgage. But guess what happened? My marriage went to a whole nother level. And you know why? Because my wife is a security freak. And even when I blew up, my wife would be like, oh, you blew up, but how long is you gonna keep making this kind of money? I was like, I don't know, forever. She's like, you sure? Because I'm gonna keep my license as a nurse just in case you don't. So when I paid the house off, my boy was like, you ain't gotta do that, you can do this. But when I paid the house off using that program, it took the stress level all the way down from my wife because we no longer had a mortgage. Does that make sense? That thing that was coming every month, that was getting on her nerves, we didn't have that no more. And so she was at rest.
All right, folks. My name is Don Daniel, founder of P.I.L.L Method International, and our team created the most powerful money management, wealth building, debt elimination system ever created. At our recent seminar in Nashville, Tennessee, the keynote speech was delivered by the #1 motivational speaker in the world, Dr. Eric Thomas. E.T., as he's also known, mentioned he paid off his mortgage in 4 years using the P.I.L.L Method. I invite you to watch and listen.
Listen to me, y'all. But one of his mentees took us through one of their programs, and I paid off my mortgage. But guess what happened? My marriage went to a whole nother level. And you know why? Because my wife is a security freak. And even when I blew up, my wife would be like, oh, you blew up, but how long is you gonna keep making this kind of money? I was like, I don't know, forever. She's like, you sure? Because I'm gonna keep my license as a nurse just in case you don't. So when I paid the house off, my boy was like, you ain't gotta do that, you can do this. But when I paid the house off using that program, it took the stress level all the way down from my wife because we no longer had a mortgage. Does that make sense? That thing that was coming every month, that was getting on her nerves, we didn't have that no more. And so she was at rest.
Did you hear that? No mortgage, no stress. If you would like to become debt and mortgage free within an average of 7 to 9 years by cutting your interest costs by up to 75%, go to pillmethod.com and request a savings and earnings report today. All right, folks, you heard it. So listen, do what Dr. Eric Thomas did. He found out how he could pay his mortgage off cheaper and faster by canceling interest. And if you want to know how much interest you can cancel, if you'd like to know the month, day, and year you could be debt free, hit that button at the top of the page there, my link there, and it will take you to our another link that says how get a savings and earnings report. Once you get that savings and earnings report filled out, someone from my staff will get that information and set up a consultation for you. That way you can know the month, the day, and the year you can be debt free. All right. So folks, listen, thank you so very much for that. And we're going to get right back into that story. And if you're online, if you're watching us online, I want to say good morning to you. And let me see who do we have here? All right. We have Kim online on Facebook. Thank you very much, Kim, for being here. We got Stephanie Rice viewing in this morning from I don't know where you're from, Stephanie, but thank you very much. But she's watching us on YouTube. All right. And then we have several other people in here we got folks from Seattle. We got folks from Florida. We got folks from Alabama. We got somebody from somewhere in the USA that said, and we got Los Angeles in the house. We got Atlanta, Georgia in the house, and Donna from Canada. So, and we've got folks from New Jersey and New York. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. Dawn, so today we're talking about how to become a W-2 millionaire. And if you're new to the room, Miss Dawn Robinson, who says she's made some money mistakes along the way, has said, she's kind of gotten the cheat code here and turned those mistakes into millions. So Dawn, tell us, what did you do next?
So when I look at my debt and look at my spending, that's when I realized, okay, I have $140,000 in consumer debt. And I looked at first, I noticed the interest, like how much the payments. And I think if I'm remembering right, this was about, I think it was 2016 is when 2016, 2017. I can't remember. But when I looked at it, I was $140,000 in debt. But it was like $30,000 a year were going out in payment. So it was like $2,500 in what I call debt payments that were non-mortgage payments, but that was going out. And that was surprising to me because I never looked at everything. I've never bounced a check. I've never been overdrawn, which is actually pretty good considering I've been a single parent for I was a single parent for my kids' life. But just understanding that how much my money I was giving away. And if I just didn't have those payments, how much money I would not have to, pay, or what would my life would be different, the expenses. So what that means is if I needed $5,000 to live off of it, and I didn't have $2,500 of debt payments, that I really only needed $2,500 to live off of. I had guaranteed income. Well, not guaranteed, almost guaranteed income. I had rental income. So I could live if I had no earned income. And so my goal really at that point was just to figure out, if I ever have to leave, if I ever lose my job, what is the number that I need? And I think that's one thing that most people don't do. We keep saying we need to make more money. We need to make more money. And because I was in that situation, that's why I say it's not an income problem. It's a spending problem. And so it doesn't mean eat beans and rice. It doesn't mean you have to eat by candlelight, but it should mean you have to know your numbers. You have to know how much money you have coming in and how much is going out. When I finally looked at that number, I was $1,300 over what I was bringing in, and it was going to my credit cards. So what I did is I used a zero-based budget, meaning every dollar had a name. That's what I started doing first. And then I was able to come back into my own income, like back into the income to where I wasn't overspending anymore. And I had to really look at why I was spending, when I didn't want to spend, or when I said, oh Lord, I can't buy this. What was I really saying? What I had assigned to some of my bad habits. It was, I deserved it. It was more than I ever had before. I didn't really have to think about buying it because I knew I could afford at least the payment on it. And so those were some things that I really had to become more aware of, Dawn. And then once I did that, and I practiced living in Hawaii 6 or 8 months before I actually moved.
So Dawn, so what you're saying is that you looked at your spending habits, they weren't where they needed to be, and then you started putting things back in order. Did you slowly get to the point where you started spending less money than you were making and set things all right? And we're going to let Dawn answer that question in just a second here. I got 13 shares now. We have in Clubhouse, we have 57 people in the building. Listen, folks, if you think this information is on point, if you want other people to know it, if you like it, go ahead and share the room. Let's get it up to 25 shares. We would appreciate that very much so other people can hear what Dawn is talking about. Because listen, if we do this thing right, if we do it right, our money that we make is not to just be spent to make other people rich. Our money is to be produced so that we can produce passive income, and you should be able to live off the passive income while you're growing generational wealth for you and your family. Folks, that's what we're talking about. And we're going to do it all on a W-2 income. Dawn, back to you. Answer that question, please. What did you do? When did it change slowly, or what happened? When did you know you had hit that goal?
Well, the goal of knowing where my money was going.
Yes, and knowing that you were spending less than you're making.
So let me tell you, I remember coming home from work. I was so frustrated. I was crying. I remember I was like, oh, something's got to give here. And I sat down with all my bills and everything, and it was like, oh Lord Jesus, is a fire. No, it wasn't slow, because I didn't want to ever be reactive. So for me, I needed to be proactive. So I pretended like if I lost my job that week, what was I gonna do? So I went to in the military they call it threat con, but I call it debt con, right? I went to debt con level Bravo because it was a fire, and I didn't want to be controlled by that job, but it was on my own hands. So once I did that, I did follow Dave Ramsey's principles. Let me say that I did follow a lot of Dave Ramsey's zero-based budget, giving every dollar a name. I did follow his envelope system to a certain extent, but some of that stuff was too extreme for me. So I had to take his principles, which he was known for the snowball, and then incorporate it in a way that made sense to me. I knew I wasn't gonna give up not eating out. And so it was, like I said, if I had $5,000, say I brought home 5,000, I was spending 6,300. So how do I cut back on at least to get to 5,000? And then what do I need to do to be able to save $500 to $1,000 difference? So I first looked at my bank statement. I pulled out all bank statements and my credit card statements. And you hear me talk about that. I divided into two categories, what I call required and lifestyle. Required was what I asked myself, what keeps me dry, meaning my rent or my mortgage, full, the food I have to buy from the grocery store, working, what is the things that I need to go to work, and what keeps me riding, right? So that's my car insurance, and those kind of things. So drive, full, working, and riding. And you guys can do the same thing too. Then I only put an R. I put an R by every transaction for my required. And then I looked at like life insurance, short-term and long-term disability. Those get required too. The other stuff was just lifestyle. And I said, that's just how I roll. I'm not going to judge it, but I'm going to find where my money is. And most of it was in lifestyle. That was my debt payments. That was TJ Maxx and Marshalls and Home Goods. I love those stores. I'm not a high-end girl. But it's got everything in there I never knew I needed. And stop being the bank.
It's true.
I stopped being the bank. And that was the hardest thing for me. I had to learn to say no was a complete sentence. And when somebody called my family member and they didn't have it, I had to say, "Whoo, girl, me too. I'm over here crunching these numbers." And so I was like, "Ooh, what you doing?" Every time, "Oh, I'm over here looking at these bills. You know, I'm trying to be able to retire." So that way they wouldn't ask me and I wouldn't have to say no. But when I did have to say no, I learned that no. So y'all write that down. No is a complete sentence, because at the end of the day, nobody was going to come help me. It was just going to be me repeating my sad story if I got to, what they call it, rock bottom, and I wasn't going to get there.
All right, folks, you heard it. Put it in the chat. No is a complete sentence. Go ahead, put that in the chat. I need to know that people are actually listening and getting in on this thing. So, Dawn, could you just give us a breakdown some of the numbers? Like, I was making this much, but I wanted to get my spending to this much, and then put money in the savings.
I don't remember exactly. I just remember I was over 1,300, so that's why I used $5,000. So let's say I was over by 1,300. So when I looked at my statements, it might have had required was, let's say required was $1,500, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of it, the other 3,500 was in lifestyle.
Okay.
Right. And if you guys do it, you will see that what you actually need to live and what you are spending on how you roll is the thing that's stealing the money from you. Because I was making $26,000 when I first started. And then when I got to 100,000, it still wasn't enough, right? I was thinking I need to make more money, but it was just going out the window. It was just, I was eating it. I was wearing it. I was giving it away. And so that was the first number. So I knew I had to get in between the 5,000. And then I looked at all my transactions. So I saw TJ Maxx, I saw Marshalls, I saw McDonald's, eating out, and all of those things. And so I said, okay, it looks like based on these numbers, I could save $1,000 a month.
Wow. So Dawn, I listen, I have a, if I can chime in here for just a second, I have a client that said, I would like to be your client, Dawn, but one of the numbers you asked me for is discretionary income, meaning how much money do I have left over after paying the bills? And she asked me, well, what do you do for clients who have nothing left? So I asked this question. I said, can you pay all of your bills each month? She said, yes. I said, can you pay all of your bills each month without dipping into your savings? She said, yes. I said, are you using credit cards to help pay your bills? She said, no. Okay, so that means there is some money there that's going unaccounted for because you can pay your bills every month. All right, so I knew that. So we sent her out a budget sheet. She filled out the budget sheet. She's supposed to get back with me when she had it all done. But man, it took her a while to get that thing back. So when I asked her, so when she finally sent it back, she said, and I asked, why did it take so long? She said, because I had to do the budget sheet 3 times. I said, why did you have to do the budget sheet 3 times? Because I said, after I paid my bills, the budget sheet said I had $2,000 left over each month, and I don't know where it was going. That's where we started our conversation. That's where we started to help her. Is that what you're talking about, Dawn?
Yes, and that's what happens. Like even with most of my clients, they find $500 to $1,000.
Okay. Oh, now, wait a second, Dawn. I know you want to get going, but everybody here on the stage is going to ask, how do you help your clients find $500 to $1,000? Everybody wants to know that. And if you do want to know that, put it in the chat. How do I find $500 to $1,000? Go ahead and put it in the chat right now. Go ahead, Dawn. Tell us how we do it.
I just told you, do those 2 lines, required versus lifestyle. The thing is that nobody wants to do this part because it's not sexy. I'm not telling you to give me $75 for crypto and it's going to be $2,900 tomorrow. I'm not telling you to do anything fancy, and nobody wants to do this part. Nobody says, oh, I don't make enough money to do a budget, or I don't have time for that. It takes too much time. But just an awareness will make you spend differently. And I've never even, if I tell you, you won't believe it, I have never balanced my checkbook.
What?
Nope. I've never balanced my checkbook, and I have never bounced a check. It's because of the system I use to keep up with my money. I still to this day do not balance my checkbook.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I know, right? But yep, I've never bounced a check, and I've never balanced it because I don't want to do the onesie twosie, $2.19. You have to do that at first to see where your money is. But like I said, the system I use, I don't have to keep track of that kind of stuff, and I still hit my numbers every month. I'm consistent. I know when I'm ready to, like, I'm getting ready to do that now in January. I'm leveling up the amount that I am putting towards my mortgage so I could be debt free. And yeah, I don't do that. So that's the main thing that most people want to do. And they feel like, I work hard, I don't want to do this. But we're so busy looking a certain way. And we can say that we don't want to impress other people. But most of the time, it's within ourselves. It's the insecurities. I had to talk to my own self about where I was in my life. There's a book called How the Mighty Fall by Jim Collins. It's a business book, but it talks about the 5 levels of decline and how big businesses are at the top of their game, like Kodak and Kmart, and then how they don't pivot and they end up losing everything. And that book was very profound to me because the first phase of How the Mighty Fall is, he calls it ego of hubris. Basically, it's like ego of success. And so for me, it was, I was making $26,000 a year, finally making good money, quote unquote, good money, which most of us make nowadays. But I never stopped spending. You get a better car, you get 2 cars, you get a bigger house, you get a better house, you buy this stuff, you go on more vacations, and you didn't go on any vacations before when you're a kid, and now you go on every vacation. I did all of those things. I overcompensated for being a single parent. So I did all of those things that are common to most people. And so I never considered that was really still in my wealth. Then the second phase is called the undisciplined pursuit of more. And that's when you get more vacations. You start going on, you have more than one car. You do all of this other stuff. You eat out every day when we were working in the office. So you start doing all this stuff, but the money starts to get a little tight, but it's not detrimental yet, right? But you still won't stop enough to say, hey, let me see if I can make something, I could do something different. That's kind of where I was. Now, if you don't stop, then you will go into what they call phase 3, and you're going to start spiraling down. You'll start buying crypto. You'll start trying to do all this fancy stuff and start grabbing for straws in order to find more money in an attempt to make more money versus control what you already have first. And it's going to be a spiral down that you likely won't be able to control, because it'll go too far and you won't be able to pull yourself out. So that's kind of what happened with me. I wanted to make sure that I stopped it at that point.
Okay, so you did that. So, folks, you are in the Mortgage Syndicate this morning, and the Pill Method Club has come to the Mortgage Syndicate, and we are sharing this space so that we can take this information from inside of us, outside of us, to you. And we have 18 shares right now. Let's see if we can get to 25. Let's go ahead and share this room out to folks. And listen, if Dawn is resonating with you, if she's saying something that resonates with you, if you want to know more about it and you want to ask a question, come to the stage. Raise your hand, come on up, put your 2 cents in. Okay, I see Dwayne. Let's see, he wants to, let's invite him up. Is anybody else want to come up to the stage to ask Miss Dawn a question? Because she's setting it up, right? She's setting up to tell you what she did, what she was doing. And we've gotten to the point of the story, if I'm not mistaken, Miss Dawn. Are we at the point of the story where you said, now I've got a handle on it? Now, where do we go from here to start building on what we have a handle on? Is that what we're at that part of the story? Okay, folks. So come on up. You want to hear the rest of the story. How do we get to millionaire status? From spending too much to now making more money and putting ourselves in a better financial position. So, folks, come raise your hand, come to the stage as if you have a question or a comment. And I'm seeing none. So if we can take Miss Andrea says she's ready to know. She says, I am still confused as to how. So we're going to get into the how right about now. So I got Mr. Dwayne here. Dwayne, how are you doing, sir?
Pretty good. I'm at work right now. I can't speak to you.
Oh, okay. All right. So I thought maybe you had a question. All right. So we're going to tuck you back down in the audience until you have a question. Is that okay, Mr. Dwayne? Thank you very much.
That's fine. Thank you.
Okay. All right, folks. So Dawn, now we're all ready. We got to where we need to be. How do we get to millionaire status from here now?
So remember, I was buying, I bought those properties. And what I did, the first thing I did is I never took a profit from my properties. I always had a separate account for them. I paid them bi-weekly because that's what I understood at the time. And so through these years, even with my overspending, some things were automated. So I was building wealth through automation. And so the homes were on bi-weekly payments. And then I remember I was already automating my contributions to my 401k. And I had 8 months of savings. I always kept a pretty strong savings account. So that is one of the ways I started.
Okay, so let's write this down. So you automated your bill paying, so you were never late, right?
I was never late.
Okay, automated the bill paying. So because you were never late, that means you didn't have any extra fees to pay.
No, and I never had a bad credit score.
Never had a bad credit score. Okay, so now we're automating that. Now, your all your other bills. Did you automate paying your other bills as well?
I automated everything, even when I had a car payment. From active duty, we would get paid on the 1st and the 15th. When I became a civilian, it was every other week. My car payment was based on if I got paid on a Thursday, they got paid on a Friday. It was the very next day. I did that for my mortgage. I paid my mortgage every 2 weeks, all of them.
Okay, so now you automated all of that. What about the savings? Now you talked about savings. Did you automate that as well?
I automated that as well. So I've always automated those. And so when I was overspending, I still had some. Let's say I was at $500 a month, right? So I knew that I was able to put $500 a month away. So $250 every 2 weeks. Let's just go low.
Okay. So when you stopped overspending and you started automated your savings, what did you say you got up to as far as putting money away
Oh my.
every
Um,
month? Can you give us
it was close to 50% of my pay.
what? Wait a minute. Back it up. Back it up. Back it up. 50% of your pay.
Yeah, it was very close.
Okay, for folks, I think I'm zeroing in on it. You started living on 50% of your income. You got close to that.
It was very close because during that time I got married in 17. But my husband was at the end of his military career, so he didn't have an income. He only had an income for a couple months before he didn't have one at all. And so we saved his money, but we always lived off of just mine. And so I started single and I left it that way, but I was living about almost 50% of my income.
Okay, so now we're at 50% of your income. We're putting money away. Talk to us about the real estate and how we got to, what is it? When you say millionaire status, is where are you talking about your, what is it? What's that word they call it?
My net worth?
Your net worth. That's it. Net worth.
Yeah. My net worth is a little over 1.4, and I don't include my primary residence, and I do not include my stock portfolio.
Okay, talk to us about net worth and what that means.
So net worth is what you own minus what you owe. So when you say I own my house and your house is $400,000 and your mortgage balance is $200,000, you have a $200,000 net worth. But if you owe $400,000 on your home and let's say $40,000 on your car, right? And the car you can zero out. But if you owe $380 on your house, then you only have a $20,000 net worth. That's hopefully you don't have credit cards. I'm just trying to keep the math simple.
Okay, so here's what I'm hearing from you. Based on what the properties that you own and what you owe on them, you actually have a credit balance of over $1 million. It's worth more than $1 million more than you owe on the properties. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Plus the cash you have in the bank?
Yes.
Okay, but that did not include your personal home.
No. I don't count.
And your stock portfolio.
No, I don't count that either. Because I can't get to it, well, you can't get to the equity on your properties. It's hard to get to.
Okay.
So my whole goal is to be a paper millionaire on this next go round.
Okay, I hear you. So listen, take a break right quick, get a drink of water. We got Mr. Byron Holman on the stage. Byron, how are you doing this morning from BOB?
Oh man, I'm blessed, man. Always good to be in good company, man. Listening to Don, man, is always refreshing, man. Both Dons, you know what I mean? So,
Listen, tell us who you are and what you do, and what does this conversation do for you today? Talk to us about being that millionaire.
Well, here's the deal. My name is Byron, real estate entrepreneur out of Houston, Texas, primarily focused on the wholesale space. Also do a little bit of creative finance, fix and flip, new construction, and new to the build to rent space. It's crazy that we was just talking about that because I'm in the process, Don, of building 22 doors within the next 6 to 9 months. That's the trajectory. Just in those deals, Don. And it's funny. I just left Keto's room, and we were talking about just building wealth over time, and what that looks like, and how important it is to change the trajectory of not only the neighborhoods that we come from. You know what I mean? Because I'm real passionate about that. It's funny. We got gangsters, right, and gang members fighting over areas that they don't own no piece of.
Wow.
Right? Yeah, we got gang members fighting over areas where Mama and Papa are about to lose the house to gentrification. Right?
Wow.
We got, you know what I'm saying? And so for me, the mission kind of goes deeper. It goes deeper for me because at the end of the day, this is real life. This is what we really seeing out here, not only in the streets but in the areas where we come from. So I take this mission of owning real estate, this build to rent mission, very seriously. You know, I was talking to the lady, and just with these bills, you know, once complete with how good I bought them, and you know, and with, you know, with the guys that I work with on my new construction, and just the experience that I've had just doing a lot of fix and flips and new construction and being a part of them, you know, my net worth, you know, just we was talking about net worth, will go up probably close to 2 to 3 million.
Wow.
Just on, you know, these couple deals that I got going on. And so for me, and I don't really feel like I'm doing nothing special. I don't feel like I'm doing nothing special. And I don't feel like I'm doing anything that nobody else can't do. I think it's just a matter of understanding, number one, how to get a property at a really good price, and it's very possible. How to get into assets with little to no money down. How to position yourself as a value add to people who could be or potentially are in distress and could be, you know, at risk of losing a property. I think it's just that simple. Of course, it's not just a flip of a switch, but it's possible. And I just want to shout out to everybody that is on this mission, and hopefully we can get more of us on this mission done that are not as fortunate as like a Don or you, Ice, or Credit. You know what I'm saying? Credit Goddess or Karen. You know, Donna and Andrea. Hopefully we can get people who are not as fortunate to get on that same mission and start owning some of these areas where they gentrifying as well.
Well, let me ask you something, Byron. So now that you understand how to do this for yourself, what are you doing to help people to get to where you are? Because you just said that you want to help people to get there. What are you doing to help people to get there? Hello, Byron. If you're talking, you're on mute.
You know, one thing I do, Don, is I wake up every single morning and have done it consistently for free. On BOB.
Yes.
For the last year, consistently at 6 a.m. Central Standard Time.
Wow.
And all we talk about is building wealth, giving away valuable experiences that we've had to endure as a result of getting into this real estate space from all different walks of entrepreneurship. And we've done it consistently, and we've never failed. We haven't failed. We haven't missed a day.
Wow.
And yeah, that's my mission. That's what I'm dedicating to the people. And now we got a podcast, YouTube channel, and all the things, and that's 100% just to make that small bit of a difference that we trying to make.
Wait a minute, Byron. You've got a podcast. You're on here. You're on this app 3 times a week. You've also spread out, taking your being on Clubhouse 3 times a week. You're also now doing it live simultaneously, doing a simulcast as well. And you're putting all of this effort in. And how much are you getting paid to do this, sir?
0.
Lord have mercy. Listen, if you are in this audience, and if you have benefited from BOB, from the information that you have received from BOB, I need y'all to put a number 9 in the chat right now. Put a number 9 in the chat if you've been to BOB and benefited from the information you've got there, and they're giving it out. This is free game that people charge money for. Listen, look, I don't know if you can see this, but the number 9s are coming in like nobody's business. Listen, we appreciate you, man. Come on. I appreciate what you did to get this thing started, and other people are trying to follow in your footsteps. So that's why we're here, to do what you're doing is to have no stingy energy in what we're doing as well. And we thank you for that, sir. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us this morning?
Oh man, I'm just here, man, trying to learn from you. You know how it go.
All right.
I like paying off this stuff fast, man, and learning this formula, man. I think it's a genius product that you have too, by the way. Absolutely genius.
Well, thank you very much. I can't wait to share more with you guys when I coming to Houston fairly soon to meet with all of you. Is that something you want to talk about now, or?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we do have an event. It's going to be a 2-day intensive workshop that we have on November 5th and 6th. It's literally just going to show people how to get into properties with little to no money down. And it's going to give people the science of deal engineering at its finest. Between Brian and I, we've racked up millions in real estate assets, and not really, not really using the bank, not really having to go to the bank and kiss the bank's ass to get that. You know what I mean? So that's what we're going to be talking about. A lot of creative finance, a lot of the strategies that we've used in the wholesale business to get into this space. And yeah, man, it's gonna be fun, man. I'm very excited about what we're getting ready to teach, and I'm very excited about the success that I'm almost 100% positive people gonna receive as a result of coming to the 2-day intensive workshop for sure.
Well, it certainly is my intention to be there because I do what I do. All right. But I think I know I could benefit from what you're doing. I want to bring that home to my family. And listen, I don't want to use trial and error to figure all of that out when I can go to a 2-day intensive. Not only that, and you're going to teach me what's going on. And then once I get that information, are you going to be there to support me and to help me to implement?
Absolutely. We're gonna be doing deals together.
Come on, man. I can't
Absolutely.
I can't beat that with a stick.
Yeah. We're gonna be partnering on deals right after that. And it's funny, man. The stuff that we're gonna be teaching it's not gonna be this later down the line type of stuff. It ain't gonna be systems. We're not motivating nobody. We literally showing people how to get into these deals, the exact way we get into these deals and make money immediately. So that's what it's gonna be focused on.
Thank you so very much. I see Miss Andrea here on stage. Miss Andrea, did you have a question for Miss Dawn this morning? Is that why you're here?
I'm actually here because I'm a student always on a daily basis, but I came in kind of late because I actually slept in late for once.
Come
So the
on.
question I was having for Miss Miss Donna was, is it Miss? No, Miss Donna invited me on stage. The question was for Miss Dawn. I am sorry.
Go right ahead and ask your question, please.
Okay, I being that I got on a little late. That's why the first question was how, because basically I'm in a situation space. So the situation space is I was a chef on Amtrak for 16 years, between a chef and working in first class on Amtrak for years. And then as life takes us through our whirlwind, to make a long story short, my husband was working for the hospital for 30 years, but then he had 2 strokes and then coronavirus, and this was all in less than 5 years. So our whole lives have turned completely around. So now I'm in a situation space where I need to learn how to shift everything around. In my mind, when I wake up, yeah, I'm a millionaire, but the reality of that has not come to fruition yet. So I'm always going to have hope because I pray on a daily basis. However, I need to know how to get there with what I do. Yes, I'm a public person or public relations person because I had to be an Amtrak. So I did not have a choice. I wore Amtrak on my sleeve. So it didn't matter if I was walking through Madison Square Garden, New Orleans, Boston, wherever I worked, I always had to represent where I was from. But that was that. Now there's just me, which I can represent myself at any given time.
Okay, then.
So I need to know how to get to a different situation ship so that I can bring my knowledge to the table, whether it's, you know, getting into a whole different space, which is now going to be real estate. There are so many points to this umbrella. It's phenomenal that I'm learning all this stuff now, which I would have never had the chance traveling as much as I did. There's no way I would have had this chance to even meet any of you, to listen to any of this knowledge, to gain anything. So I feel like my cup runneth over with education that you guys are, you know, bringing to the table every day, because I've already been through the purchasing my first home in 2010, losing it to foreclosure in 2014, you know, having to leave my job because I have to take care of my husband who had the 2 strokes and coronavirus and is no longer physically functioning the way he used to. So
Okay.
now so to speak, the Othello piece has flipped over, but I
Okay.
still have to maintain.
All right. So, Miss Dawn, you hear that? So let's take us to the money now. Take us to where we can level up and get to where we need to be financially. And I think, and let's end it up with what you say is how to make work optional. Can you take it there?
Yeah. So Andrea, thanks for sharing. I have to tell you, I still work my same job. So I'm just starting to enter into entrepreneurship. Only the last year or so have I started to teach people with under a fee, but most of it I've done for free, what I've done. And so for me, it's about really looking at your expenses, your income minus your expenses, being able to consistently save that. And when I say save, I mean in an account first. I don't mean in an investment account or buy a property first. Because what I have found, and I call it baby mama trauma, because I have been the only one for so long on my own income, I feel like you should have more savings first. I feel like once you learn the disciplines of just being able to automatically save $250, $500, $1,000 a month, you pay it like a bill, then you can do something else, because that's what has saved me. And so I only teach financial fundamentals. I don't know how to do, like you'll hear other people that can do hard money. I have never done hard money. I only know traditional lending. And so for me, it was spending less than I make, assigning it, automating it, and then I never took profit off my rental. So that's how I was able to pay them off a little quicker. And then I learned amortization. I learned amortization before I met ICE, but now ICE has the software. So I was not able to say confirm or deny that it was as efficient as he speaks about. I just know that it worked for me. So that's how it was a really good pair for us to meet up. Now, we remember, and the number, my actual net worth is 1.2 minus my personal property and minus my 401k and those investments. So I said 1.4, it is 1.2. But what I did is I paid them off in COVID. I paid them off in COVID because they were saying, hey, you don't have to pay. And I was still living in Hawaii. And at that point, I had $8,000 mortgages, $8,000 worth of mortgages, and I hadn't bought one pack of ramen. So it was simple. It was simple math for me. And I paid off my mortgages.
Wait a minute. What did COVID have to do with all of this? I think I know, but some folks need to understand you paid stuff off during COVID. Why is that important to point out?
Yeah, because they were telling the tenants that they didn't have to pay. The rent moratorium was in place. And so when we talk about rental properties, and that's why I get a little skittish, is because the only person on the line for those mortgages was me. And so I had to pay the 3 mortgages on the mainland, and I had a $4,000 mortgage in Honolulu. So that's why I said $8,000 worth of mortgages, and I hadn't bought one pack of ramen yet. And so for me, I had always saved my rental money. It was in the account, but I had only had like 3 months for each one of my properties. I think it was about that. And so for me, 18 months, we didn't even know how long it was going to last, was not going to be enough to carry me, should I lose my income or anything else, without going into potentially foreclosure. So I just paid them off. I just wrote a check and paid them off.
Okay, so that is another piece, folks. That is another piece. If you're going to be in the rental properties, you have to be ready to answer the question, what if nobody is paying me rent? Can I still keep these properties and not have to give them back to the bank? So is that what I'm hearing, Dawn?
Yeah, and so I've always done that. So every property I bought, now here's the deal. I've always tried to make sure that my income could cover it. So I never wanted to be where I could not afford certain things. I could not afford the mortgage payment, no matter how many I had. If it had to come out of my pocket, then it would come out of my pocket. Fortunately, I haven't had to do that, but that's how I live.
Wow.
Go ahead.
I mean, see, that's awesome. That is an awesome strategy where, if I lose all of my renters, I can still keep the property based on what I'm making. You can, from your W-2, you can still make the payments on the rentals.
Right. And I could not have a side gig. So people talk about side hustle. I could not, because of the current job that I do. It is very restrictive. So I could not have another employment. So I had to learn how to do everything under my own income.
So Dawn, so listen, coming back to the part, and I know you want to go forward, but coming back to the part where you started living on 50% of your income, all right? Were you still able to enjoy life?
Yeah, of course. Because to me, I think when, like Dave Ramsey talks about beans and rice, like to me, that's like a green smoothie money diet. Like I'm not going to do 10 days of green smoothies. It's not going to happen. In my mind, that's what he wanted you to do. And I'm like, that's not realistic. So I had to figure out within the money that I had, I actually stopped getting my hair done because I thought I was Beyonce. So I went to locks. Y'all can see I'm in locks now. And I had temporary hair. Those are wigs and extensions that I could use. So I did that for a while, but I didn't. I changed my nails. I got my nails done every 3 weeks, but I had to have a travel budget. I had to have a travel budget. I call that I Love Me. I created a separate account. I paid it like a bill. It was $417 because it was like whatever $5,000 a year equal is what I put in my account. I paid it like a bill so I could travel. So those were the things, and I spent $120, and I backed my numbers into what was available. I had $120 for eating out, and actually I still spend $120 a month eating out.
Wow. So Dawn, you're setting all this up. You're doing the automation. You're making sure you're buying the properties right. You're making sure that, the rent's coming in. And you paid stuff off during COVID when other people were taking advantage of, moratoriums. You could have done the same, but you said, oh, instead of doing that, let me pay some stuff off. And then that put you into the next phase. What did you do after COVID?
So after COVID, I started to during COVID and just before, I found the FIRE movement, Financial Independence Retire Early community. And that's when I learned that that retirement is not a number. It's not an age, it's a financial number. And I was like, wait, you mean to tell me that really retirement is about how much income? Because I thought it was an age. This was in 2019. I was still thinking that I had to work until, for me, I'm federal, so I had to work till 57, or people have to work to 62, 65. And I was like, wait, how do you decide when you can retire? And it was based on how much income you can actually predict to come in versus your lifestyle.
Wait a minute. So instead of looking at the age, you're saying after how do you predict retirement? How much money will I have coming in if I stop working? So that's how you gauge retirement, not on an age, but how much money you can have coming in.
Yes, and my lifestyle. So that's how I gauge retirement. And people don't like the word retirement. So for me, I actually secretly call it FU money, right? And since I'm a good church girl, it's freedom unleashed and faith unlimited. But FU is a universal term, because if I ever get a bad boss like I did before, it's FU money time. I'm going to pull the trigger.
Wow.
So that's what changed the game for me.
Wow, wow, wow. Folks, listen, come to the stage, ask your questions. We have a few more moderators that just came into the room. Kirk the Bank, Barnes, Credit Ninja, TM is in the building. Onaje is in the building. Giuseppe is in the building. Listen, folks, we're stock full of information here. And Dawn Robinson is talking to us about how to become a W-2 millionaire. I've got 28 shares. We've got 122 people in here. I need you to share this. I got 128 people in, 124 people in, and only 28 shares. We have Byron Holman in here right now, who is, the epitome of no stingy energy, meaning he's giving back. All right. We are giving back. We want everyone to learn how to give back, not because of us, because when you're giving, when you're putting in, it's a law of the universe. You're going to get back more than you give away. So we're going to ask you to be a little bit of self-interested by learning how to give. Share this room so that you can get back. All right. So Don, take a little break. Can we get Onaje to give us a few seconds about who he is and what he does? Onaje, can you do that for us?
Yeah, I'm here, man. How's it going this Sunday morning, everybody? I was just listening to Don and just I always like hearing her speak, keeping it honest and real with folks. Yeah, look, it's your journey. I'm big about this, guys. Like, you got to have a wealth plan or wealth journey, right? And typically, when you're really talking about that, you're talking about cash flow in some type of way, right? How much money can you have coming in to where you good? And good for me is about a floor. So I don't really focus on ceilings and where I want to be. Oh, I got to make $10 million or $20 million, whatever. And that's cool. And I do like that. But I also equally focus on, okay, I've gotten down the train or the track, or I've gotten this far. I never like to go back. So I'm a tortoise one race guy, right? If I get somewhere, if I get to a milestone, I want to set myself up to where that milestone, I'll never have to go back below that milestone, right? I want to raise my floor in life, right? So, 1 month, my floor might be 30, 40, 50 grand worth of cash flow. My goal is for next year, for me never to be below that number, right? And as I keep growing, you'll figure out how much more do you need? What do I like to do, right? What do you really like to do? Some of this is going to take some sacrifice. You're going to swallow some stuff. You can't go ball out all the time. But what are the bare necessities? And when I say bare, everybody has different bare necessities, right? Somebody's bare necessity might be a G-Wagon or something, right? But what's your bare necessities, and how do you get enough cash flow to cover that, right? Because sometimes we like to go chase shiny objects, and shiny objects might be a little bit too much for us in that space. It's not reasonable for us to go from making 100 grand a year to making 10 million a year in 1 year. Like, let's have some realistic goals on what we're going to do to get there, and realistic plans. Like, for example, I'm in a place now where I get a lot of great single family deals come my way, but that's not really aligned with my goals anymore, right? Because I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, I ain't got but so many more years, so many more summers. I got time, I got kids, I got a wife, I got this going on. So now I'm in a place where, look, I'm looking at deals that are only going to give me $4,000 to $5,000 of cash flow a month for me, right? Like, that's got to be my cut.
So
like, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Onaje. I'm sorry. But do you see what we're talking about, folks? We're trying to you could put yourself in a position where you could say no to anything under that's going to bring me, if it's not going to bring me at least $5,000 a month, I'm saying no to it. And listen, and the reason why I asked you, Onaje, is because you are conservative in your view as well. You still work a W-2 and have real estate. Is that correct?
That is correct.
I've also heard you say, listen, I've also heard you say that when you're doing a deal, you're not basing whether that deal is a good deal based on what could happen in the future. Is that true?
Oh no, yeah, that's an as is. Like that, like I said, when I say that, that rubs people the wrong way sometimes. But you have to evaluate deals for what's on the table right now. Anything else is speculation. Anything else is speculation, right? And if you're speculating, you might as well be on the stock market. If you're on the stock market, you might as well be in the damn Vegas. And I don't play in Vegas, right? I play in actuals, what's actually occurring, what has historically occurred, right? Whenever I'm looking at deals, because the market changes as we're seeing now with high interest rates, right? The market is changing. So, a lot of people buying deals based off of, well, interest rates going to be low. Well, not necessarily, right? Or I'm going to be able to raise rents by this amount. Are you sure? Right? Who have you vetted out on that? So, yeah, I try to take a very conservative approach. Yeah, I might be doing things a little bit different than other people, but I always try to remind people I've been doing this for a long time. And it's taken a long time to kind of get to what I'm doing now. And it's going to take even longer to get even further. So, but if you keep chopping wood, the tree will fall. It don't matter how big you are, right? You can be 7 foot, you can be 5'1". If you swing that axe enough, it will fall on your time. And that's okay. That's where people get in trouble, is that they're worrying about other people's time, other people's perceptions and stuff like that. Now, run your race, chop your wood how you chop it. And whenever you get there, you get there. Just have a clear goal to get there.
Did you hear that, folks? Listen, we got some good information on how to become a millionaire working your W-2 job. And we got Mr. Onaje Barnes in here. Listen, you need to follow these folks. Follow all of these moderators. We got Credit Ninja in the house. Credit Ninja, can you spend a couple of seconds and tell us who you are and what you do? Are you available? Because, sometimes listen, as soon as she shows up, people start ringing her phone. I get that. So, Giuseppe, are you available to share a couple of seconds with us? And go ahead.
And I think that on this stage, I'm the right person to tell everybody one time forever that in USA, it's not the real estate magic. It's the lending, the financial system. Because in 27 years in Italy, over 1,000 employees, over 24 real estate agency, property management company, Airbnb business. But personally, I never own over 25 property because the financial system in Europe is bad. In USA, you find money if you have a correct knowledge, experience in any way. And for this, I passed in 6 years from 0, 1 property, 1 assistant, 2016, over 500 property, over 100 employees today in Cleveland, Ohio. And I'm ready for my next step. I bought 2 land, one in Orlando and the other is Homestead in Miami. And that is because I love to be here, because I learned from you how can use money, how can use a leverage money. And I want to encourage everybody, don't compare yourself to everybody. Step by step, if you don't have a property, you have your first property, you are great, you are fantastic. This is the right room, raise a hand, ask a question, because again, it's not real estate magic in USA, it's a lending, mortgage, how you can find the money, how you can save money to pay mortgage. This is me, Giuseppe, back to you.
Thank you so very much. So Kirk the Bank Barnes is on the phone right now. So Dawn, listen, we want to finish this thing up. We're at the top of the hour right now. So I want you to be ready to go after we take this break, and encourage people to go to the top of the room and click that mortgage syndicate button up there and join the mortgage syndicate. Also tap my profile and join the P.I.L.L Method Club, because the P.I.L.L Method is on 3 times a week as well. We're on Sundays, we're on Wednesdays, and we're on Fridays, sharing valuable information. The P.I.L.L Method is all about how not to pay all of that interest. P.I.L.L stands for prepayment of principal. isolating the principal amount, leverage, and liquidity, how to borrow the bank's money at a discount. All right. So you've got to borrow the money. And folks, we're looking at some times that people have not seen in a long time. The experts are predicting that we're going to be at double digits for as far as interest rates are concerned. And we're going to do a special show coming up in a few days. If the interest rates go to 10%, how you can still make money, even if the interest rates are 10%. In fact, here at the P.I.L.L method, we like the higher interest rates as opposed to the lower ones. And we're going to show you exactly how amortization actually works and how you can take advantage of amortization without amortization taking advantage of you. In fact, not too long ago, we ran into one of our favorite people in the entire world, Dr. Eric Thomas, who told us how he made his wife feel better using the P.I.L.L method to pay off his mortgage. We're going to take out about 90 seconds right now and let Dr. Eric Thomas share with us right now. My name is Don Daniel, founder of P.I.L.L Method International, and our team created the most powerful money management, wealth building, debt elimination system ever created. At our recent seminar in Nashville, Tennessee, the keynote speech was delivered by the #1 motivational speaker in the world, Dr. Eric Thomas. E.T., as he's also known, mentioned he paid off his mortgage in 4 years using the P.I.L.L Method. I invite you to watch and listen.
Listen to me, y'all. But one of his mentees took us through one of their programs, and I paid off my mortgage. But guess what happened? My marriage went to a whole nother level. And you know why? Because my wife is a security freak. And even when I blew up, my wife would be like, oh, you blew up, but how long is you gonna keep making this kind of money? I was like, I don't know, forever. She's like, you sure? Because I'm gonna keep my license as a nurse just in case you don't. So when I paid the house off, my boy was like, you ain't gotta do that, you can do this. But when I paid the house off using that program, it took the stress level all the way down for my wife because we no longer had a mortgage. Does that make sense? That thing that was coming every month, that was getting on her nerves, we didn't have that no more. And so she was at rest.
Did you hear that? No mortgage, no stress. If you would like to become debt and mortgage free within an average of 7 to 9 years by cutting your interest costs by up to 75%, go to pillmethod.com and request a savings and earnings report today. Ladies and gentlemen, we have, listen, we're doing a fabulous job. Our moderators are killing it today, giving us information. And Dr. Eric Thomas just shared with us how he has just reduced the stress for his wife by paying off his mortgage using the P.I.L.L method. If you want to know the month, day, and year you can be debt free within a 7 to 9 year window, then hit that button at the top of the page there. And that's my 10K card. And in there, you will see another button inside that says get a savings and earnings report. Follow all of the instructions. As you follow the instructions, you will be led into our financial form where you can put in all of your debt, leave nothing out. In fact, the more debt, the better. The more you put in there, the more we love it. And we're going to show you exactly what to do and how to save interest, do it mathematically and do it optimally, saving as much money as you possibly can for your family, your business, or your church. By doing that, by cutting your interest costs by 75%, you can pay off all of your debt in an average of 7 to 9 years. If you're a real estate investor, you may not be interested in paying off your debt, but we can show you how to get your equity faster and pay less interest getting there. Therefore, you can cash out refi sooner at a higher profit margin. And we're adding a new metric for real estate investors by tracking how much interest you did not have to pay to get that equity. Now you can add that number into figuring out how profitable each deal is. I'm telling you, it's the best thing since sliced bread, and our computers run the whole thing. And let's not forget about my book that's out there on Amazon. So it's been a 5-time bestseller. It is the only book on Amazon out of 33 million titles that talks about what we're talking about today: interest cancellation, how we need to understand the basics, and how we need to have a computer program written for the express purpose of beating the bank at their own game, telling you how much money to move, what month to move it in, what day of the month to move it on, which loan to attack to maximize interest savings. Folks, we're going to get right back to our stage, and Miss Dawn, who's bringing it home for us in the last 25 minutes of our show today. And she has gotten us to that point where it's now time to start talking about how to level up and to create that net worth. Miss Dawn, are you still with us?
Yeah, so real quick, so people can, just to recap, I think you spend less than you make. So you take what you earn, right? Your income minus your expenses, and the goal is to save and invest the difference. There are financial fundamentals that just don't change. And so that's all I'm saying, is that you don't have to do fancy. Like, you can learn fancy once you get the fundamentals down. But if you do fancy first, you are likely going to hit a brick wall because you don't have the skill. Like, you have Byron and Anaje, they make way more money than I do. And I am still a W-2 employee. But what I'm saying is, I did it the traditional way. There are people that have experience. That's not the way that I learned. And so what I want to make sure is that though, like, they have it, I did not even buy right. And I talk about my money mistakes. I did not buy right. And so now I use the 1% rule when it comes to real estate. And that has been my saving grace. But when I first started buying real estate, it was like, oh, if the mortgage is $900 and I can rent it for $1,000, as long as it pays for itself, quote unquote, because that's what I was hearing. That is not right. Right. So that's $100 difference between, there's no real cash flow in there. If you want to talk about it on face value, your mortgage is $900 and they pay $1,000. That looks like $100 cash flow, but it's really not. By the time you pay for a warranty, you need to put money away for vacancies. There's no cash flow in that deal. So that's the way I purchased my first couple. One I bought to live in, the other two I bought very similar to that. I might have had $200. It was very low cash flow. And so that is another recipe for ruin. So you can do real estate wrong a couple of ways if you don't pay attention. If you use the money, if you buy the wrong way, or buying the wrong amount. And so that's all I want to make sure is that you understand, because I only talk about my real estate portfolio at 1.2, but I did not buy the right way. The first 3, I did not buy the right way. So that's just a lesson I want to make sure that I share. But again, income minus my expenses, and I saved and invested the difference. I think you need 6 months of savings of what your lifestyle costs. You have to know that number, because you have to know when something happens, how much money do you need to live? So if something happened today, go log into your checking account or your savings account and see how much money could you put your hands on today and how long that's going to last you. Most people don't even save $2,000 for every year they work full time. And that is the challenge, because I think we do, if you're going to follow 3 phases, I think you should protect what you already have, then build, then grow. Look at, short-term and long-term disability insurance. We need to make sure our deductibles, these are basic things that we have to have done right before we start trying to go sexy. And so after that, I found the FIRE movement. Just to go back, I found the FIRE movement. It said, hey, it's not a retirement, it's not an age, it's a financial number. So I knew how much my lifestyle costs. My lifestyle cost me $6,000, right? In Hawaii, it was a little more, but my lifestyle ultimately cost me about $6,000, and that's a whole lot of fun money in there. So what do I need? You take the $6,000, you multiply it by 25. I think that comes up to 1.250 million. So, let me do the math real quick. I think it is. So 6,000 multiplied by 25 years is 1.5. So if you want to know how much money you need, you take the amount that you need per month, you multiply it by 25, and it will give you, well, 6,000 times 12, which is a month, and then multiply that by 25. And that was 1.8.
6,000 times 300.
Yeah, 6,000 times 12. So $6,000 a month for 1 year is 72,000. And then take the 72,000 and multiply it by 25, and that's your number.
Okay. All right.
I can live off of, that's 1.8 million. I know that I can live off less than 6,000. I can really move at around 4. And 4,000 without a mortgage is a whole lot of money to burn up in 1 month. So my number, typically my sweet spot is on the low end, $1 million, and that's how I consider myself to be work optional at this point. But I would like to, my sweet spot is 1.8, and that's the number that we were talking about, Dawn. So that's how I got to my number on where I feel like I can retire on 46, and the goal is to pay off my last house. And I should be able to do that by 50, and then I will have a income of 1.8, or a net worth of 1.8, and income producing assets.
Wow. So let me ask you this, Dawn. So as you're looking at a budget, and for some people, budget is a bad word. So do you use budget to restrict your spending or to track your spending?
I do it to, well, I don't know if I would say restrict, but I definitely do it to track. And I don't have to do that. What you call it? I don't have to reconcile my statements every month. I don't have to do that to figure out where my money is going. I know where it goes. And so I like to call it a spend plan, because I'm a natural spender. Some people are natural savers. I'm a natural spender, but it allows me to live a lifestyle that I really want to live without having deprivation and still meet my goals. I think that's very important, that your spend plan has to be doable. But in the beginning, it was not, because I was overspending. I had spent my money. SPUN, that's what my grandma said. That means past tense spent. I spent it, and then I owed it to the company, the Visa company, and I spent it. So I had to pay them back more than I took. And so when you spent your money, you have to cut back at some point. There is no way to get ahead unless you do the work first. But it doesn't have to be painful. And it just matters how bad do you want it. It's like I always equate money and wealth to being a size 6. Like, I'm interested in being a size 6, but I'm not committed, right? Okay. So it's the same thing. You might be interested in building wealth, or are you committed to having wealth?
Okay, so here's what I'm hearing, Dawn, is that when you figured all of this out, you started living on less than you make. And you said that you don't reconcile your bank account. Now, I know what that means, because you and I have talked. But can I share that you're putting away more money, and you know how much money you have already in savings that's liquid. And you know that out of all that money that you have, you're not going to spend all of that in 1 month. So as far as, tracking every single penny, you have several times your monthly income already stored up. So that's why you're not looking at every single penny and justifying your checkbook at the end of the month. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's not why.
Okay.
The reason why, because I'm not gonna do it. I'm not. That's like telling me to drink green smoothies for the next 10 days. I'm not going to do it. Like, I'm not gonna do it. I won't even do 1 day of all smoothies. So I just know it's not something I will do. And if you guys, just for example, take the vacation money, right? I call that my I love me. And so I was putting away 5,000. All I did was divide the 5,000 by 26. I think it was like 417. It's a little, I do a little higher now, but about 26 payments, $5,000 divided by 26 was 192 multiplied by. So yeah, it was like, so I did that. I think my 417 was when I took it to 10,000 a year. But so you just put that away and pay the bill. So when credit guidance calls me and say, Dawn, you want to go to Vegas? Now, I just started in January, right? So that means I have only $600 in March. and she calls me in January, I cannot go. But she said, I'm like, girl, I can go in March if it's gonna cost $600.
Wait a
And
minute, Dawn. You know how much is going to go into that account. You could borrow it from someplace else and you could still go.
now, Dawn, let me tell you something. Dawn overspends on her credit cards. I'm not anti-credit card. I do use my credit cards for points, but I still overspend.
Ah,
I still overspend when I do it. Every time, even when I like, oh, pay it off. If you look back at those statements, you overspent because you were not paying attention to your money.
so you know who you are.
Yeah, I overspend all day, every day. If I do it that way. So when she calls me and I'm like, girl, we can go in June because I have $1,200 then, right? And then if I want to go and I say, do I love Credit Goddess to go to Vegas in June or do I love Dawn? Because I might want to go to Mexico. So then it's about what do I want to do with my money? And I cancel Christmas. Like, I don't do Christmas anymore. That's me though. But I never was a big Christmas person. I got my kids 3 gifts. So I'm just trying to give y'all practical tips to what worked for me. You think about it and how to apply it to you. So when Christmas comes, when I was doing Christmas, I say, okay, I'm going to spend $2,000. By October, I'll have the $2,000. And then this is what I'm going to spend. And then I tell people, don't buy me a gift. I don't want your sweater for you to tell me to buy you a, you even do iPod. I don't know what they do now, but no, I don't want a sweater. And then you tell me I got to buy you this $269 gift. No, keep your money and I'm going to keep mine. And we just eat ham together when I get over there. So it was just practical stuff that I had to do. I drive a Prius. I have a cool car, but I like my Prius at 8 gallons of gas. And when people were kind of frenzy about the gas, Prius at $8, I get street cred. Now it's cool to drive the Prius. But I don't, I that's just what I like. I don't want a certain car, but I go on vacation. So it's just the trade-offs of what you want to do. And the money is there. That's what I want to take away from it. The other article before we, I guess we're going to run into my numbers, but the other article I want you guys to look up is called The Shockingly Simple Math Behind Early Retirement. And it'll tell you, hey, if you save 10%, it'll take you this long. If you save 5%, it's going to take you this long.
Okay, one more time with that, Dawn. One more time with that slowly. And folks, you want to clip that. Okay, one more time.
It's called if you Google it, The Shockingly Simple Math Behind Early Retirement. It's by a guy named Mr. Money Mustache. He was kind of one of the lead guys with FIRE, Financial Independence, Retire Early. And it's just a chart. My other tool that I love is called the Millionaire Calculator. If you Google it, it's the first one that comes out by Bankrate. Or like my granddaddy said, if you goggle it, it's the Millionaire Calculator by Bankrate. And then you can play with the numbers. If I save $500 and leave all the other numbers the same, or if I save $1,000, I pay off my car payment and this Visa, how much would I have, right? And most people with just $500, it's like $300,000 to $400,000 over 10 years. And the what is it called? The compound interest that we're chasing in the stock market, it's working against you when you hold debt. It's really working against you when you hold a mortgage. And the tax benefit is a fallacy. Dawn has done a room on that too. So that was the main couple of things. It was controlling my spending, investing the difference, and getting rid of my mortgages. Dawn says she learned how to get rid of it cheap, not fast. I like to get rid of it cheap and fast because sometimes a paid for a house of grass just feels better.
I hear you, folks. It's about leveraging money. It's about saving money on interest. Listen, folks, whenever you're out there, you need to know how much it costs to live. And Dawn has figured out, this is what it costs me to live. This is what I'm making. What am I going to do with the difference? And you're making wise moves with the difference is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, that's it. Like, y'all don't have to do fancy, and you can go from bankruptcy, and within that time frame, those 7 years, your life could be barely recognizable from a financial standpoint. You could be swimming in debt right now, and in a couple of years, your life, even in 90 days, you'll feel better. But in a couple of years, you will tangibly see the difference. I always talk about one of my clients, Kenya. She was a single parent of 4 living in Hawaii. She had $6.36 when I was teaching this class. 2 years later, Kenya had 18,000. I think she's over almost $25,000 right now in her savings account. So I'm just saying it works for anybody. Just that lifestyle versus required thing. It works. And just knowing where to put your money and don't do anything that you don't understand. Just don't do it. Don't put money anywhere you don't understand what you're doing.
Okay, Dawn, here's what we're going to do. We're going to let you tell us how to get a hold of you, and let somebody put it in the chat as well. So Dawn, how can we get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can just DM me. I have a Facebook group, so you're interested in that. We're not that lively right now, but I am going to. It's Dawn Talks Dollars on Facebook. You can DM me on IG, or DM me on the back channels, and we can talk. But like I said, I don't do fancy, so I am financial fundamentals all day.
Wow, wow, wow. Credit Goddess.
Hold on. Don.
Yes.
Don, not you, Don. Don.
Yes.
Where is your link to your course?
You so messy.
I am.
You so messy.
You had all these people listening to you for the past 2 hours, and you mean to tell me you're not going to share your link to your course?
I don't, but I will. Yes, ma'am. You could put me so on the spot. I'll do it.
Where's that email list?
It's on her link on her Instagram. Go to her Instagram, everybody. Follow her there. There's a link in her Instagram bio. I've actually gone there and looked at you, Dawn, because man, oh man, you're awesome. So I clicked on it and I saw your course and your beautiful face. Also, Dawn, you look very young. And I think that when you have financial freedom and stress-free life around finances, it keeps you young. So keep it up, sis.
That's right, Dawn. That's right. So, folks, that's how you get a hold of Dawn. Click on her bio. You see her Instagram. Listen, you got to tap in. You got to tap in. You got to tap in. And listen, we're going to bring Credit Goddess.
So I did put up, but you guys know, let me tell y'all something.
Yeah.
I'm a straight corporate girl, W-2. So most of my clients come by word of mouth. I'm just learning how to do this technology stuff. So just full transparency. What I know is I can get you the results. All that pretty fancy stuff, I'm working on it. So Credit Goddess, thank you for calling me out.
You're welcome.
And who else was that? Karen. Somebody else called me out. I think it was Karen.
Kareen.
Yeah, Kareen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Y'all calling me out to push me out there. So I sure appreciate it though. Thanks.
All right, folks, listen, we have just about 7 minutes left in here. And how many of you love this content and want to bring more content like this to life on the P.I.L.L Method Show? If you want to see more information like this, put a number 9 in the chat. Put a number 9 in the chat right now. You want to see more of this. You want to see more experts coming to the P.I.L.L Method stage. So you know what this, listen, do you know we have an expert here? Credit Goddess. Are you available?
I am.
So listen, when do you want to come to the P.I.L.L Method stage and share with us how to level up on that credit profile? When do you want to do that for us?
Whenever you need me.
All right, listen, because I don't know your schedule. Can you do it sometime? So we got Wednesday and we got Friday coming up. Can you do either one of those days?
Let's do Friday because I'm actually doing a podcast Wednesday, so I want to prep for that.
Okay, so Friday, folks.
No. Let's not do Friday because I'm gonna respect my guy Los because he does business credit that day.
Oh,
Sunday? Can we do next Sunday?
Can we do next Sunday? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do next Sunday because I'm probably going to be out of town anyway. And so I'm going to be limited to what I could share on the screen. So next Sunday, Credit Goddess is going to be here and we're going to be talking about credit profile, how to, she's a credit improvement strategist. We're going to be bringing that to you on next Sunday. Okay. Excellent.
I'm glad that you mentioned that because what Don shared today is so vital to improving your credit. Like you have to be right with your money management.
Yes.
Because if you guys understand the difference between, it's not a difference, but there's debit and credit. Debit is if you have the money in the bank, You ask them to debit it out, it comes out. But if you don't have the funds, you credit, right? You're saying, hey, can I pay you back later? So if you don't have the funds for later, that's the recipe to bad credit. So what Don shared is just to get right with your money and telling your money what to do. And then that way you can then incorporate credit into the mix and then leveraging other people's money. Someone asked the question, what's leveraging money? When you leveraging other people's money to make more money babies, right? So that's what these two things are all about. That's king and queen.
All right. So listen, we brought Mac to the stage. Mac, we have just a few seconds. So if you have a question, you can start out by saying, my question is, Mac, how are you this morning? Mac, you just came to the stage and it looks like you're new. So hit that microphone in the lower right-hand corner and you can come off mute and speak to us. Mac, what's up? Hello, sir. Mac, you have the opportunity. Now's the time to talk. All right. So we're going to. All right. So Miss Dragon, how are you?
I am good, thank you.
Do you have a question or comment for us in the last couple of minutes here?
I just have hopefully someone can answer this question. I don't know if it's the right question for the room. So I've been trying to increase my income so that, of course, I'm spending less than what I'm bringing in for the needs of my family. I am a single mom of 5. But I just can't, I've been stuck in this position of not being able to really increase it in order to create that for myself. If there's any suggestions that you guys have, currently what I do is I'm a general contractor. I flip houses for a living, some for myself, some for other investors. My son and I also, my oldest son and I also partner up on some jobs and flipping houses. I do the actual flipping of them. So I do the actual hands-on work, construction, whereas he generally is the one who buys the houses, and then we just kind of do a 50-50 split. But I'm just stuck in that position of not increasing my income, and I can't work more. I mean, I can only flip a house as fast as I can flip a house. And so if there's any suggestions that anyone has, it would be greatly appreciated.
I do have a question for you. Do you ever use somebody else's money to incorporate in your business?
No, we've never gotten funding. It's all cash out of pocket. What we make from other jobs. I also wrap cars. I'm also a licensed cosmetologist. So I just do as many side hustles as I can on the side, and we make do wherever we need to make do. He's in sales mainly. And so he generally comes up with the cash out of pocket to purchase the homes. We generally get them pretty cheap, anywhere from 5,000 on up to 45,000, and flip them from anywhere from 80,000 up to 200,000. So
okay, here's my question. So my second question is, do you know anybody else that would love to have funding to do their deals?
It's not that we wouldn't like to have funding.
This is a specific question. Do you know?
I don't.
You don't know people who like to use other people's funding?
I don't. I don't really associate with too many people, so that kind of limits me.
Okay. Because I was just saying, if you did, you could become, because of your experience, you could become a lender, and you don't need a license.
I'm listening.
Listen.
Welcome to Clubhouse.
Welcome to Clubhouse. So listen, you can become a lender. You can help people to get loans for their business purpose lending. You can lend them money for flips. You can lend them money for rehabs. You can lend them money for cash out refis and make between 1 and 5 points on these loans, and you don't need a license to do it. So that's one idea. If you want to know more about it, hit me up on my Instagram, and I'll plug you into the right people. Okay.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're so welcome. Folks, we've come to the end of our 2 hours here online. So everybody has been watching us online. Thank you so very much for being with us. We're going to be right back here on Wednesday at 7 a.m. Central Time, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. So we're going to let you all go online. Everybody that's on Clubhouse, hang out for just a few minutes. And so we're going to be able to say our goodbyes. So everybody online, our last word, we're going to give it to Dr. Eric Thomas, and we're going to do our outro music. Thank you so very much. See you on Wednesday. My name is Don Daniel, founder of P.I.L.L Method International, and our team created the most powerful money management, wealth building, debt elimination system ever created. At our recent seminar in Nashville, Tennessee, the keynote speech was delivered by the #1 motivational speaker in the world, Dr. Eric Thomas. E.T., as he's also known, mentioned he paid off his mortgage in 4 years using the P.I.L.L Method. I invite you to watch and listen.
Listen to me, y'all. Well, one of his mentees took us through one of their programs, and I paid off my mortgage. But guess what happened? My marriage went to a whole nother level. And you know why? Because my wife is a security freak. And even when I blew up, my wife would be like, oh, you blew up, but how long is you gonna keep making this kind of money? I was like, I don't know, forever. She's like, you sure? Because I'm gonna keep my license as a nurse just in case you don't. So when I paid the house off, my boy was like, you ain't gotta do that, you can do this. But when I paid the house off using that program, it took the stress level all the way down for my wife because we no longer had a mortgage. Does that make sense? That thing that was coming every month, that was getting on her nerves, we didn't have that no more. And so she was at rest.
Did you hear that? No mortgage, no stress. If you would like to become debt and mortgage free within an average of 7 to 9 years by cutting your interest costs by up to 75%, go to pillmethod.com and request a savings and earnings report today. All right, listen, everybody. So if you were watching us online, we now said goodbye to everybody there. But I want to thank everybody